Hello everyone, my name is Suya Dimin. So today I would like to talk about Joshua Van, a UFC flyweight champion from Myanmar. So the main purpose of this presentation is to help students, parents, and people who have recently become interested in UFC and Joshua Van clearly understand who Joshua Van is and also what UFC is. So, in addition, this presentation aims to encourage people to continue supporting Joshua Ban, who is one of Myanmar's greatest prides, by learning more about his journey and also his hard work and also achievements. Another purpose is to introduce some common UFC and MMA vocabularies and also competition terms. Understanding these terms can make UFC matches more exciting, enjoyable, and easier to understand. Therefore, I have also included explanation of some important terms in this presentation. So first of all, let's start with Joshua Van's early life. So Joshua Van was born on October 10, 2001 in Hakka, Chin State in Myanmar. He comes from a Chin ethnic family and grew up during a time of political instability and hardship. So because of this difficult situation in Myanmar, his family moved to Malaysia when he was still young, and also later they immigrated to Houston, Texas, in the United States to find a better and safer life. When Joshua first arrived in America, life was very challenging for him. He could not speak English fluently and also often struggled to fit in at school. He was bullied and also got into many street fights during his teenage years. However, these difficult experiences later changed his life completely. At first, Joshua Ben was not planning to become a professional fighter, but after watching UFC fights and becoming interested in martial arts, he started training in MMA and seriously. And he trained under coaches in Houston and also worked extremely hard every day. That is why his dedication and fearless personality quickly helped him improve. Joshua became a professional MMA fighter in 2021 and soon gained attention because of his aggressive fighting style and also powerful striking. In 2023, he officially joined the UFC and also became the first Burmese-born fighter in UFC history. His biggest achievement came in December 2025 at UFC 323 when he defeated Alexandra Pantoja and won the UFC Flyweight Championship belt. With this victory, Joshua Ben became the first Asian-born male UFC champion and the second youngest UFC champion in history. Later, he successfully defended his championship belt against Tatsuro Taira at UFC 328, which was held last week. Now, I would like to briefly explain Joshua Van's fight records. In these slides, as you can see, Joshua Van's professional fight history. Throughout his career, he has competed against many strong fighters in both MMA and UFC competitions. Most of his victories came from his aggressive striking style and also speed and competence inside the octagon. Some fights ended by knockout, also called KO, while others ended by technical knockout, now we know as TKO or by judges' decision. And also now I would like to explain some important UFC and MMA vocabularies and match terms. First, UFC stands for Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is the world's biggest MMA organization. MMA means mixed martial arts, a combat sport that combines different fighting styles such as boxing, wrestling, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu. And also, a person who competes in UFC is called a fighter. Fighters compete in different weight classes, and also Joshua Van competes in the flyweight division, which is for lighter fighters. So the winner of the championship match receives a champion belt. So the next one is I will explain some fighting techniques. The first one is striking. So striking means attacking with punches, kicks, elbows, or knees. And also grappling. Grappling refers to wrestling or controlling an opponent on the ground. And also, another important term is submission, which means forcing an opponent to give up by using chokeholds or dry locks. Okay, there are also different ways to win a fight. A knockout or KO happens when a fighter becomes unconscious after being hit. A technical knockout or TKO happens when the referee stops the fight because the fighter cannot continue safely. Okay, now let's look at some competition rules and match terms. A UFC fight is divided into rounds. There are 3 rounds to 5 rounds. So the referee controls the match and makes sure all fighters follow the rules. And sometimes fights are decided by judges' scores. This is called a decision win. If all judges agree on the winner, it is called a unanimous decision. If judges have the different opinions but one fighter still wins, it is called a split decision. And also, finally, a title fight is a match for the championship belt. When a champion wins again and keeps the belt, it is called defending the belt. Okay, now these vocabularies help us understand UFC matches more clearly and also appreciate the skills of professional fighters. Alright, now my presentation has come to an end. Some of the information included in this presentation was collected and referenced from various websites. So some images were also taken from social media platforms and also Pinterest. So I'd like to respectfully give credit to the original owners. Okay, so I hope this presentation has provided you with some useful knowledge and also interesting information. Thank you so much for listening until the end, and I hope to see you again next time. So bye bye.